When Italians are feeling particularly cheesy, they don't reach for just one cheese, not 2 cheeses, not even 3 cheeses, but also not 5 cheeses, that's too much. 4 cheeses specifically.
See, because we discovered that 4 cheeses makes you happy.
Yes, today we're here to talk about quattro formaggi dishes, 4 cheeses. It's a staple Italian cheesy, I was about to say sauce, but it's not always a sauce. Combination that's used in a lot of different dishes.
I would define it as a staple piece of Italian happiness.
Sure, we've been meaning to make this video for a long time. I'll explain why later. But first, before you get cooking, we should probably talk about what the 4 cheeses are.
Being Italy, the country of the cheese, despite what the French says, because we have much more cheese than them. We have about 400 cheeses, something like that. We decided that the combination of these 4 cheeses, and we had to choose very careful on 400. Usually they are taleggio.
If you've never had it before, it's a soft cheese. It's kind of like, don't kill me, brie. If you've had brie, you sort of understand the consistency of taleggio.
But it's better. By the way, we use gorgonzola.
Gorgonzola, if you've never had it, it's like blue cheese. It's
He's risking his life.
I'm sorry. I'm trying to give points of reference that someone who's never had them can understand. It's a moldy cheese, very powerful, very strong, and oh so good.
Then, because despite what people think, we also embrace the foreigner cheeses.
I wonder where they would get the impression that you wouldn't embrace foreign cheeses.
I don't know.
I wonder where.
Because in between the 400 cheeses, the question is, do you need to go outside of Italy to find a cheese?
Well, apparently, yes.
Because we don't do this exactly kind of cheese, which is a Swiss cheese.
Well, everyone pretty much knows Swiss cheese probably, but that's sort of I would say the mildest cheese of the bunch. It sort of balances the stronger flavors in the 4 cheese spectrum.
And then, last but not least, the king of the cheese. Despite every kind of, list, prize, election, I don't know, but the king of the cheese is Parmigiano Reggiano.
Which makes sense. Parmigiano Reggiano, it's like the salt of cheeses. It's like you need Parmigiano to bring out all the other flavors. It's like the seasoning cheese, you know?
So these are the basic 4 cheese that we use. Now, it's also real that actually you can change a little bit the combination. Like for example, if you don't find the sweet cheese but you want to keep the theme of foreigner cheese, go for a Gouda. Or if you don't find the gorgonzola and you have blue cheese, or you call it
Rochefort or something? What's the
no,
French
that
one?
doesn't really work.
No, well, no French cheeses.
That doesn't really work. If you don't find no taleggio, no crescenza, no stracchino, the only thing that you have is brie, do like that and use the brie.
Now, here's the thing about Quattro Formaggi dishes. There are 3 classic Italian dishes that tend to be the go-to dishes for making Quattro Formaggi. That would be a plate of pasta.
Penne quattro formaggi.
Penne, yeah. The other is risotto. And last but not least, of course, pizza. Pizza ai quattro formaggi. It seemed to us that sort of doing just the normal penne, risotto, and pizza was a little bit boring, and it undermines the fact that quattro formaggi is something that can be used in a lot of different dishes. So, what I've asked Ava to do today is to make 3 quattro formaggi dishes in that same vein, something along the lines of, or serving the same purposes as a plate of pasta, a risotto, a pizza. But let's twist it up a little bit. Let's do some more unusual quattro formaggi dishes. I have no idea what she's gonna make. All I know is they're gonna be real cheesy. Ah, okay. I think I have this one figured out. So I assume you're making gnocchi, which is interesting. I've never seen gnocchi with 4 cheese sauce, but it sounds actually like a really good fit.
You know why you never saw gnocchi with 4 cheese sauce? Because you never went to Valle d'Aosta.
Do they do that there?
Yes, they do a plate of gnocchi with a 4 cheese sauce that is called gnocchi alla Bava. So, do you think that I need an egg?
No, definitely not.
I don't need an egg.
I don't think so. If you guys don't know what Eva's talking about, and if you want to learn all about gnocchi and how to make it, I will put a link to a video right up somewhere here. So you're grating the Swiss cheese.
I'm grating the Swiss cheese because being a little bit harder than taleggio and gorgonzola, it will take too long actually to melt.
Gotcha, but the taleggio and the gorgonzola is just sort of in chunks.
See, because they are soft, so they will melt as soon as they meet the pan.
And I assume the Parmigiano is going to be grated as well.
I don't see how that chunk of Parmigiano can melt in a pan. To make our Quattro Formaggi pasta sauce, what we need? We need a little bit of butter. So I'm going to use like a teaspoon of butter.
Tablespoon.
Tablespoon of butter. We let it melt. When the butter is completely melted, turn down the heat, which means minimum. I'm going to add taleggio, gorgonzola, and the Swiss cheese grated all at once. And to help the cheese melting and create that creamy consistency, I'm going to add a little bit of milk. And as you can see, it starts to melt. To my taste, a pinch of nutmeg works perfectly well with a Quattro Formaggi sauce. If you don't like, skip it, but I warmly suggest to add. And the only thing that actually you need to do with a Quattro Formaggi sauce is let the cheese melt on a very low heat, and then the sauce is ready.
I assume that if you were cooking dry pasta, like not gnocchi, which cooks in just a couple minutes, that you could make this sauce while the pasta was cooking.
Absolutely, yes. If you see that maybe your sauce is a little bit too thick, just add a little bit more milk. When the cheeses are all melted, I'm going to add the grated Parmigiano. I'm keeping the sauce on a very low heat, and sometimes while my gnocchi are cooking, I just stir it, because at this point more or less it's done. Because the gnocchi are cooked when all them are floating, this is the moment in which we will transfer the gnocchi to the pan. I'm going to increase the heat just a little bit. And now is the moment in which you can finish the gnocchi in your sauce. When you stir the gnocchi, be very delicate, because by the way, it's a very delicate pasta shape. Harper, which is the most important rule about pasta e quattro formaggi?
Eat it immediately.
Bravo. Bravo.
Cheese sauces wait for no man. If you'll excuse us for a moment.
Buon appetito. Now, gnocchi are amazing because they are amazing. Cheese is cheese no matter what.
Now that I'm trying it, I kind of think that gnocchi is maybe the perfect pasta for Quattro Formaggi because it has that really deep hole in it that just collects thick sauces like that so well. Not to mention the ridges on the outside that also serve the same purpose.
Also because potatoes and cheese,
Yeah.
they go very well together.
As humans have known for a long time, yeah, potatoes and cheese, pretty good combination.
Even if it's all cheeses melted, the taste of Quattro Formaggi, if it's well done, is a very balanced taste.
Well, that's what the purpose of those 4 cheeses serves, is that they balance each other out. Like you and I being literal cheese addicts. Like we are all about, for instance, a pure gorgonzola sauce. But if you don't like those really strong, pungent...
The taleggio, the Swiss cheese, being a little bit mild, they actually make a good balance.
Yeah. Also, as usual, excellent job on the gnocchi.
Grazie.
They are fluffy and perfect.
I have some years of experience in making gnocchi.
Okay, next, the go-to would be risotto. So I'm hoping you can do something that's kind of similar to risotto, serves a similar purpose, but isn't just a risotto. I shouldn't say just a risotto. There's no such thing as just a risotto. What I meant was something more unusual than a risotto. I didn't mean to demean the risotto there. 4-cheese risotto is...
I understood that, but it is like...
I know, I didn't want anyone out there to think that I'm saying that there's such a thing as just a risotto.
No, I know what you mean, don't worry.
Yeah, definitely not risotto. You wouldn't start with water, but it's also not enough water for pasta.
So, you have all the, what do you say, hint?
The hint?
To understand what I'm going to do. So if it's not pasta, if it's not risotto and potatoes we had with gnocchi, what is left?
Polenta?
Bravo, Harper. I was scared that you were saying bread.
I was thinking bread. I was like,
Now he's going to say bread.
I was thinking bread. I was like, well, what's left in the Italian diet? Bread. You gonna boil some bread?
And by the way, Harper, yes, you can boil the bread.
You can boil the bread?
Sì, there is a recipe that is called pancotto.
Do you pretty much fully cook the polenta before you add cheese?
Yeah, okay.
All right, well guys, that is not instant polenta. That's gonna take about 45 minutes. So through the power of editing, we'll see you soon. And welcome back.
So, it's 35 minutes that the polenta is cooking. There I prepared my cheese, my 4 cheeses, which means, like before, taleggio, gorgonzola, Swiss cheese and Parmigiano. Now, when we will miss like 5 minutes, we start to add actually the cheese. So I start to make this polenta creamier, cheesier and luscious. It's very important when you make polenta ai quattro formaggi or polenta concia to stir in a little bit of butter, because we don't have here a sauce to season our polenta. And we need the butter to make the polenta creamier. And then we go in with all the cheese. Very low heat, because we need a very low heat when we are working with cheese. Keep stirring and let all the cheese melt. Just because I really like it with a Quattro Formaggi sauce or a Quattro Formaggi condiment, I'm going to add a little bit of nutmeg, but if you don't like, skip it. So this is ready to be served, but if you want to be very traditional, I want to make it very, very good, better, you can top it with some melted butter.
I always forget about polenta.
Bad.
I know.
It's a very bad thing.
It's so good, but I don't really think about polenta very much.
You can fry it, you can roast it, you can eat hot, you can put tomato sauce, you can put ragu, you can put cheese, you can put butter. You can do whatever you
Do
want.
anything with it. Now, I've had you make cheesy polenta for me before, but never for cheesy polenta.
So, which means that this is very, very cheesy.
I hope so. Oh, I can tell how cheesy that is.
Buon appetito!
Buon appetito. Oh.
Mamma mia.
Mmm.
It's the heaven of a mouse.
Yeah.
Which means that it's my heaven.
Yes.
And
Mine
also yours.
too.
It's a polenta that with all these cheeses that is not a polenta anymore.
Oh my gosh. I'm so glad I asked you to switch things up today because I've had risotto ai quattro formaggi. This is different and very, very good.
I like also risotto ai quattro formaggi, I like also pasta ai quattro formaggi, but polenta is the thing that maybe surprised the most because you always see the polenta with the tomato sauce, the stew and all this, but like that.
I'm struggling to think of how to describe it because it's almost like just eating cheese. It just sort of gives the cheese structure. Does that make sense? It's like you're not just eating something flavored with cheese. It feels like you are eating cheese. You used less cheese than you did with the gnocchi, and yet this still is somehow more cheesy. It's amazing.
Now, I think to be up in the Alps during fall, winter,
Well, then you need to eat this. You gotta stay warm somehow.
and you have this big copper pot full of polenta and butter and cheese. I need to take you up there one day.
Like we said before, the third and final thing that everyone goes to when it comes to quattro formaggi recipes is pizza. I'm hoping you can do something that's kind of like pizza, but a little bit more adventurous. Okay, I'm a little stumped here. It's definitely not pizza because if it were pizza, you wouldn't have olive oil and you wouldn't have the stand mixer.
And I would have yeast.
That's true, you would have yeast. There's no yeast here. Can I get a hint? What kind of flour is that?
This is Manitoba flour, or as you know here in America, high gluten flour.
Yeah, it doesn't really help me at all. You use that for pretty much everything. All right, proceed. I was thinking maybe like a focaccia of some kind, but you don't usually use the stand mixer for a focaccia.
Because you didn't study very well, Harper.
Clearly, I'm very stumped here. Oh, I think I know what this is.
Now you understand what it is.
I think so. Are you gonna make that really thin?
See?
Are you gonna make the other one really thin to go on top, maybe with some cheese in between?
Bravo, Harper, you see?
Yeah, I don't remember what it's called, but it's some kind of
You don't remember what it's
I don't remember the
called?
name. It's a kind of focaccia. It's like really thin and crispy, and it's stuffed with normally one cheese.
Focaccia di Recco, that is from the city of Recco, where they invented this focaccia. Because we are using the theme of Quattro Formaggi, can we just use one cheese? No, we are going to use 4 cheeses.
I'll put a link up here again to the video where Eva first made focaccia di Recco.
That's why you need the high gluten flour. Because if you think that you can do this with an all-purpose flour, you forget. a dream, a dream that became true.
The Ligurian quesadilla.
Focaccia al formaggio, Albert.
So it's been a while since I've seen Ava make this, but we had some of this focaccia in Genoa when we were there this past spring, and it was really cool. And if you do make this, it's something you might want to think about trying. We had it served at this one place where they spread pesto on top. It is so thin and crispy and filled with amazing cheese. I mean, I was joking, but kind of not really. It is like a Ligurian quesadilla.
Or maybe the Mexican quesadilla can be the Ligurian.
Bene.
I don't know, because I just imagine that in Mexico they start to make quesadilla after the Spanish were there, the Spaniards were there.
I don't know. That's a good question.
So leave a comment down below if you know who made before what.
Buon appetito.
I love gnocchi. I love polenta.
I think this is the best 4-cheese dish of the day. It's tremendously good, as Ava would say.
It's the perfection. I don't know who was the first man who made this focaccia al formaggio, but he should be remembered in all the history book in the world.
I would argue that this is better than pizza ai Quattro Formaggi. I think that having this type of crust that's very thin and 2 layers of it, like sandwiching the cheese in between, I think that actually works better than pizza. I think it's a better form factor for this much cheese.
For sure, this is easier to make. It's so amazing that actually you can do in half an hour, 45 minutes, you can have this amazing dinner, lunch, snack, breakfast, call it...
I think people think that this will be tricky because of the stretching out of the dough, but I think people also don't realize that as long as you use a high gluten flour, it's a very tough dough and it's pretty easy to stretch out. It's not some complicated thing.
The gluten is what makes the dough be so elastic. So if you use an all-purpose flour, no.
And you don't have the problem of having to make pizza dough and then let it, rise overnight and all that.
Absolutely, and it's just 30 minutes to the gluten to relax, and then you can make this.
Before we go, we need to give a big shout out to the pasta grammarian who inspired us to do this video. Killian is a longtime pasta grammarian and has probably, don't know for sure, but pretty sure that Killian has made more of Ava's recipes than anyone else. I think for years now, I want to say.
At least a couple of years.
I think so. Killian has been asking us to do a video with more Quattro Formaggi recipes. And so sorry it took us so long to get around to it. We finally did. Hope you enjoyed it. And we look forward to seeing what you do with them.
So Killian, now I want to see the focaccia ai quattro formaggi, polenta ai quattro formaggi, gnocchi ai quattro formaggi, pasta ai quattro formaggi, risotto ai quattro formaggi, everything quattro formaggi.
If you want to become a pasta grammarian, just hit that subscribe button. Follow us on social media @PastaGrammar. And if you try any of these Quattro Formaggi recipes, tag us in a picture on Instagram or Facebook. All right, guys, we'll see you next time.
Ciao.
I kind of like this too because unlike doing a 4-cheese sauce, with this one, the cheeses are sort of spread out a little bit, so you get a little variation in each bite. Like you might have a bite of gorgonzola, and then a bite of taleggio,